Welcome to Season 1, Episode 2 of the Dennis Manoloff Show, a podcast part of the Press Play Podcast Network. My honor and privilege to be here with you. The first show went really well. I was very excited to do it and got great feedback. So thankful to all who have subscribed, and keep the subscriptions coming. Tell your friends about it. I'm just trying to be as informative and entertaining as I can be, as we are based in Northeast Ohio. So the focus is Indians, Cavs, Browns, but I'm also ready, willing, and able to talk national sports. I'll dip into politics on occasion, cultural stuff, you name it, whatever comes across my mind at a particular time. For this episode, what is on my mind, the Cleveland Indians. When I looked at the Indians' schedule to open the season, I said to myself, the season really won't begin until Monday, April 12th. That's the beginning of the White Sox series. Until then, it'll be 6 games against the freshmen, Detroit, and 2 against the JV, the Royals, before the varsity portion of the AL Central. In that 4-game series in Chicago, we will see if the Indians can hang with the varsity. Verdict: the Indians can hang with the varsity. The Indians split one of the more entertaining regular season series I've watched and listened to in quite some time. It's no secret the Indians have issues, mostly on the offensive side. This lineup has myriad question marks. Some of the answers might not be known for a while, maybe the entire season. But you know what? The Indians went into Chicago and split a 4-game series despite all of those offensive flaws and question marks, and they're hanging near the top of the AL Central at 7-5. A bunched AL Central at that, which doesn't appear to have a super team. And by the way, here's a news flash. Every major league team has flaws. Even the Dodgers will tell you they have flaws, or the Padres, or anything in the American League. I don't see any team really jumping off the page in the American League. The Indians were 2-2 from Monday through Thursday, despite or having to overcome 3 outstanding performances by White Sox starting pitchers, one of which was a near perfect game and ended up as a no-hitter. I like the White Sox offense a lot better than I like Cleveland's, but the final run count in the series was 14 for Chicago, 9 for Cleveland. I don't want to let a series such as this go without doing it justice. Game 1, Indians lost 4-3. The key play, bottom 9, runners on first and second, ground ball, the Indians' first baseman, Yu Chang. He throws to second to try to ignite a double play. The throw hits Yasmani Grandal in the helmet, caroms away, and the winning run scores. White Sox 4-3. You hear Yu Chang getting criticized for the throw, and then unfortunately, terribly, horrifically, he gets anti-Asian sentiment thrown his way on social media, just despicable. But as far as the play goes, I didn't have that much of a problem with it. He was trying to get a double play. Grandal did what he was supposed to do. He took a lead with depth, and then he ran at an angle toward the bag. He didn't veer into the throw for the possibility that he would be called out for interference. He knew he was coming in at an angle, though. He knew he was cutting off Yu Chang's field of vision. It was a veteran play, a good base running play, and I'm not as down on Chang as some people were after that throw. And quite frankly, the Indians deserved to lose that game anyway. Game 2, an old school pitchers duel classic. Indians won it 2-0 in 10 innings. Indians right-hander Shane Bieber, spectacular, and he needed to be. He went 9 innings of shutout ball, dueling White Sox right-hander Lucas Giolito. 0-0, of course, into the 10th. The Indians score on an RBI single by Roberto Perez and an RBI double by Ahmed Rosario, assisted, of course, by the free runner on second base with no outs to start extra innings. And that's a rule change that was made last year during the commissioner-imposed 60-game pandemic-shortened season. I didn't think I would like it. In fact, I thought I would hate it. Now I'm all right with it. I like the fact that there's some strategy involved. Teams have to consider what to do there. It's not an automatic run that scores in these situations. So I actually don't mind the free runner. The Indians certainly didn't mind it on Tuesday night when they won 2-0 to even the series. Wednesday night, White Sox all over Indians right-hander Zach Plesac in the first inning. Plesac didn't make it out of the first. And the White Sox cruised to an 8-0 victory. That wasn't even the story. The story was White Sox lefty Carlos Rodon. Perfect game through 8 1/3. Broken up when he hit Roberto Perez in the foot with a sweeping slider. Secondly, I watched that pitch 7 times, and it came in hard on Perez. And I mean, I don't blame him at all for not having moved the foot. It wasn't like he stuck his knee out or he stuck his elbow out or even kicked his foot out. That pitch got him squarely on the top of the foot when he was in the batter's box. So totally legitimate hit by pitch. Rodon then strikes out the next batter on a generous third strike call and gets Jordan Luplow to line ground sharply to third base for the final out. So Carlos Rodon crafts the 20th no-hitter in White Sox history. The Indians had a no-hitter thrown against them for the 12th time, first time since Irvin Santana of the Angels at Progressive Field in 2011. So Rodon gets his no-hitter. The Indians are down in the series 2-1. They easily could have had their daubers down going into the finale on Thursday afternoon. The White Sox get a lead in the first inning, 1-0. But the key is Indians right-hander Aaron Savale limited the damage to just 1 run in that first inning. The Indians are doing nothing offensively until the 6th. Jose Ramirez with a 2-run homer with 2 outs in the 6th. He had been in a 1-2 count, and it was 2-2, 3-2. He got a fastball at the belt. He ripped it over the right field wall. Snapped an 0 for 19 for Jose Ramirez against Lance Lynn. 0 for 19 overall for Ramirez. Lance Lynn had been dealing to that point. Ramirez put the Indians up 2-1. They wound up winning 4-2 to even the series. That is a victory in that clubhouse that's worth more than just the one game in the standings. That was one that they're going to think about for a while, at least tuck it away in the back of their minds, because we know Indians manager Terry Francona, he's very much in the now. He doesn't like to dwell on the past, win or lose, or bask in the past if it's positive. They're very much a day-to-day operation in Cleveland, but that's the kind of victory you really wanted to have instead of limping out of Chicago, having lost 3 of 4 in the series. You played a quality team, a team that figures to be there in the end. And I do want to play in game 4 that stood out besides the Jose Ramirez home run. Bottom of the first, after Tim Anderson had singled leading off against Aaron Savale. Adam Eaton, the pesky Adam Eaton, ground single to right. The throw comes through to third. Anderson beats that. Then they throw back to second. The Indians throw back to second, and Adam Eaton alertly tries to take 2, and he's got the bag on a head-first slide with his hand, but he slides essentially too hard, and shortstop Andres Jimenez holds his ground, and essentially Eaton is lifted off the bag with his momentum and maybe a little bit of a nudge from Jimenez, and he's correctly called out. Well, Eaton has a little bit of a hissy fit, including a lame push of Andres Jimenez, and then the benches come out and there's some jawing, nothing, no haymakers thrown, no punches thrown at all that I could see. No ejections. The Indians were a little upset that Eaton wasn't ejected. And quite honestly, I don't blame him, because Eaton was just butthurt because he was out and there was nothing that Jimenez did wrong on the play. It was just one of those things where Eaton, the ultra competitor that he is, let his emotions get the best of him. And he was mad at himself, most likely, for being out there. So he decided to take it out on Jimenez with a little push that was so dumb. But I liked how the Indians were fired up about that. I'm pretty sure I saw Cesar Hernandez, the second baseman for the Tribe, jawboning back at Eaton. So good sign that the Indians were engaged there. And, Terry Francona likes to run a professional outfit. He's not one of those rah-rah type managers, but he's all for the fire that comes in a game if it happens organically or if somebody, pushes you to a certain point. In this case, Eaton rankled, Jimenez and the Indians' teammates of Jimenez. So they got fired up about it. And obviously it didn't translate in the batter's box until the sixth inning. But at least the Indians were able to come out of that game with a victory. And no, this does not silence the doubters about the Indians. It never will, because the Indians, as I said, seemingly are so many people's favorite punching bag. The Dolan's discounts, they don't sign anybody. It's shoestring budget. Yeah, okay. But guess what? The Central Division is not all that in a bag of chips. The Indians are right there at the top through 12 of their games played. And yeah, they're going to have to overcome offense, but they got a heck of a pitching staff. So you figure they're going to be able to hang around in most games. When we return to the Dennis Manoloff Show, I'm going to talk about the Cleveland Browns, who just keep doing good things in their offseason.
Hi, my name's Jeremy Powell, co-host of the Oranges Oranger Browns podcast. Check us out anywhere you listen to podcasts. For all your Browns coverage, post-game, pre-game, anything you need Browns, you'll find it here on the Oranges Oranger Browns podcast.
You've been pining, you've been waiting for Rega and Rhoda to get back together. We got you. Press Play Podcast. We're ready to go. We're going to have our podcast with everything that you want. Browns, Cavaliers, Indians, Ohio State, the national scene. Kenny Rhoda, Michael Regai back together again. Make sure you keep your ears open. It's happening right here on Press Play Podcast. See you then.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Books like Stephen King's The Shining or Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. If you're on the hunt for book recommendations and enjoy sparkling conversation, come read along with us and then listen in.
Welcome back to the Dennis Manoloff Show, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. We talked about the Indians and their split of a very important early indicator series in Chicago against the White Sox. We transitioned to the Browns, and to borrow from baseball, the hits just keep on coming for the Browns. Singles, doubles, triples, homers. Most recent signing, Jadeveon Clowney, to a one-year deal, potentially worth up to $10 million. So the Browns acquired Takk McKinley at 1 year, $4 million, and Jadeveon Clowney as their edge rushers opposite Myles Garrett. They did so instead of J.J. Watt, or more to the point, they did so because J.J. Watt chose not to sign with the Browns and every other team except the Arizona Cardinals. I will accept that. I'll accept Takk McKinley and Jadeveon Clowney in lieu of J.J. Watt. Of course, I would have liked Watt. And by all accounts, the Browns wanted him and made a legitimate run at him. But Watt chose the Cardinals. Okay, time to pivot. And the Browns signed two guys on prove-it deals who have a lot of skill but need to show what they can do over 16 games. Oops, 17 games. How about that? The NFL is going to be playing 17 games in the fall. I can't wait. Sign me up yesterday for that. Another reason I want depth at certain critical positions, such as O-line and edge rusher, the 17 games instead of 16. You're going to need more depth. You're going to need to keep running guys in, thinking ahead to 17 games. Takk McKinley has said he feels like he has a new lease on his football life. He still has a ton to prove. Jadeveon Clowney would say, I don't have anything to prove. I know I'm terrific. I know I'm one of the best in the game. But here's the issue with Clowney. He's got to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, yes, we can expect him to be a force to be reckoned with, but that's the big key. Can he be there for you for the entirety of the season? The good news about Clowney is he doesn't just affect the game as an edge rusher. He could be moved inside if need be. In other words, I could foresee an occasional four-man front of Myles Garrett, Sheldon Richardson, Jadeveon Clowney, and Takk McKinley. Who knows? When you talk about a single in terms of singles, doubles, triples, and homers, the re-signing of Porter Gustin, a defensive end, a guy who showed some things last year. You know, a much needed, very important. Every position can be deemed to be important in the NFL, but you really need depth at every position, and that's what Gustin provides. And I was glad to see the Browns re-sign him. So you look at this offseason and you almost have to pinch yourself because it just feels like the Browns are doing so many things well. I mean, I'm just looking at their offense that's set to come back in 2021. Mayfield, Chubb, Hunt, OBJ, Landry, Higgins, Hooper, Njoku, Bryant, you know, with that offensive line of Wills, Bitonio, Treader, Teller, and Conklin left to right. I love that offense. And then defensively, you know, from the back to the front, the newly signed John Johnson III, Grant Delpit, coming off the injury last year that sidelined him the entire year. Ronnie Harrison, corners, TJ Ward, Troy Hill, Greedy Williams, if he can come back from injury. Linebackers, Malcolm Smith, Anthony Walker. And then, of course, the edge rushers we talked about, the D lineman interior, Richardson, Billings, Malik Jackson. This team looks really, really good on paper, and it's coming off of an 11-win season in the regular season last year and a playoff victory. And that's important because the last time I felt this good about the Cleveland Browns in the offseason wasn't that long ago. It was a couple of years ago, in fact, when the Browns finished a losing season playing well for interim head coach Greg Williams and interim OC Freddie Kitchens. That would have been the end of the 2018 season, the finale of Baker Mayfield's rookie year. Well, then with Kitchens coming back this time as the head coach and Baker comfortable with Kitchens and everything, all the hype, and everybody's thinking, oh, the Browns are going places. Well, guess what? They got punched in the mouth by the Tennessee Titans in game one at home. Wound up going 2-2 through 4, including a victory at Baltimore. So maybe they were righting the ship, but ultimately they fizzled to go 6-10. And it was a disastrous season that saw not only Kitchens get blown out, but general manager John Dorsey. So the hype train was absolutely roaring down the tracks entering 2019, and the Browns flopped. This time you're hearing a lot of the same stuff, how good the Browns are. But the good news here is at least they have a season behind them that was productive with their current coaching staff, the coaching staff they're coming back, led by head coach Kevin Stefanski. When you go 11-5 and win a playoff game, that is legitimate momentum, a legitimate springboard into the next season. So I can see why so many, not just in the Northeast Ohio area, and not just Browns backers worldwide, but national analysts are bullish on the Browns because they've been making a lot of really good moves, and we haven't even had the draft yet. So really pumped about the Cleveland Browns. When we return to the Dennis Manoloff Show, I will talk about sports gambling and a little bit of a warning that I have for Ohioans.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Hi, my name is Sam Post, owner of Phenomenal CBD Store and PhenomenalCBD.com. That's like phenomenal, CBD.com. Tune in where we talk with experts about how the amazing hemp plant can make a difference for people's health and well-being from the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. I created this podcast to have hard conversations. Conversations that make us human but are also wildly uncomfortable. Conversations that help give voice to the voiceless and to the marginalized. Now you can listen to the entire first season on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Consider this your personal invitation to join the conversation.
Welcome back to the Dennis Manoloff Show, Season 1, Episode 2. So you think you're going to make sports gambling a side hustle, you Ohioans, when it is legalized in the state, possibly as early as this year. I mean, I was thinking maybe last year would be legalized. Now you're hearing this year. Okay, well, I guess I have to wait and see because Ohio is always late to the party on this type of stuff. But no matter what, it's going to happen. Neighboring states have legalized it. Ohioans are taking their money to other places such as Presque Isle, Downs, and Casino in Erie. So it's going to be legalized in Ohio, sports gambling. The question is, are you going to be ready? And I know in this Dennis Manoloff Show, we're speaking to primarily a Northeast Ohio audience, but of course we're speaking to anyone worldwide who is able to subscribe and download. I'm telling you, I'm warning you, be careful what you wish for. Everybody's an expert when it comes to sports and politics, or thinks they're a real expert when it comes to sports gambling and politics. Well, I have been doing a little side experiment with Monopoly money, testing myself in advance of that day, whenever it comes, where Ohio legalizes sports gambling. I've been testing with the so-called Monopoly money, fake money, and I haven't been doing well. And I've been trying hard, legitimately. It is so much more difficult than you think it is. And I was one of those people who thought he knew everything about every team in major professional sports. And, whoa, you watch $50 into $500. Yeah, right. Sure I am. And by the way, I've been to Presque Isle, Downs, and Casino a few times with my wife, the lovely and talented Denise. We've gone there as a little getaway. It's a 2-hour drive from where we live. And I have stood in front of a kiosk because I've never visited Vegas. But the first and only, to this point, sports book I've been in is the Presque Isle, Downs, and Casino sports book in Erie, Pennsylvania, where in Pennsylvania it's legal to sport, obviously, to bet sports. I have stood in front of that kiosk, and let me tell you, it's a whole different experience when there's a screen that tells you all your options to play, and then there's that little slot underneath that says, put your money here. All of a sudden, all that bravado and all that confidence and all that cockiness kind of washes away. At least it does for me, and I'm pretty sure it would be for you. I all of a sudden didn't want to part with a $10 bill, much less a $20 bill. A $20 bill felt like I was giving the kiosk, $200. And when I did put a 20 in and made a few plays, all I wound up doing was breaking even. I was making penny ante plays, $2 here, $5 there. I wasn't doing anything. I was on a hamster wheel. Ultimately, I think I wound up putting in on our most recent trip $50 and lost 10. Be careful what you wish for. Here are a couple of cautionary tales just from Major League Baseball in the opening weeks. So you think you know MLB, right? The Red Sox, who are more likely going to finish near the bottom of the AL East, if not be the worst team in the AL East. They made it 9 in a row on Wednesday by finishing off a DH sweep of the Minnesota Twins in Minnesota. The series wrapped Thursday afternoon with the Red Sox loss to the Twins, who snapped a 5-game skid. So if you're playing the Red Sox, what are you expecting from them? Lose 3 in a row, win 9 in a row, then lose, the series finale against the Twins in Minnesota. What about the Detroit Tigers? Let's take a look at their season to date. Picked by most rational analysts to finish last in the AL Central, the Tigers opened by taking 2 of 3 against the Indians in Detroit. One of the victory games started by Indians right-hander Shane Bieber, defending AL Cy Young. Then the Tigers lost 2 of 3 to the Twins at home. They came to Cleveland and were overmatched in a 3-game series. I called the sweep before the series started, and the Indians maybe looked good by winning 4-1, 11-3, and 5-2. So, of course, the Tigers' next stop was going to be another disaster. They were headed to Houston to play the Astros in a 3-game set. The Astros at that point were 6-3 and had already defeated a quality team, the Oakland Athletics, 5 times in 7 tries. Even a watered-down Astros lineup is better than Detroit's, except in this series. The Tigers won 6-2, 8-2, and 6-4. Their next series began Tuesday night in Oakland. So those are just 2 teams right there, the Red Sox and the Tigers, that show you, that demonstrated early in this Major League Baseball season how difficult it is to bet, let alone bet actual money. So I think I've been put on this planet for several reasons. One of them is becoming increasingly apparent to me, and that is warn people you're not really as smart as you think you are when it comes to sports gambling. You may know your teams and your team's personnel backwards and forwards, but it guarantees you nothing when you go to the kiosk, when you go to the betting window to place your bets. All right, when we return, I was bullish on the Cavs, and I still believe that a week later on the Dennis Manoloff Show, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Want to hear more about your favorite TV shows and movies that are on countless streaming services?
Then listen to Up Next with your new favorite hosts, me, Kristen Aviles,
And me, Christina Walter.
Every other week, we'll highlight one genre, but 2 movies or TV shows, one old and one new.
We'll let you know what's hot and what's not from your favorite
or least favorite
streaming services.
And be sure to stay tuned to the end of each episode where we shout out an artist whose name you should know for their talent in the industry.
So follow us to stay up to date with your favorite hosts from Up Next,
a part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Dennis Manoloff Show, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. Producer extraordinaire Carlos Medina is bringing this one home, as he always does. We've been talking Indians, we've been talking Browns, and we'll quickly talk Cavs. Last time we spoke, the first episode of the Dennis Manoloff Show, I was bullish on the Cavs, at least insofar as the chase for the number 10 seed in the Eastern Conference. And I still believe that a week later. It's been, a choppy road for the Cavs since we last spoke, including a 135-115 boat racing by the Toronto Raptors, who were without several key guys. So, yeah, there was that. Now, as we are taping Thursday night, the Cavs are playing the Golden State Warriors, a Warriors team that is featuring Steph Curry, who's been out of this world, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, and company. Now, of course, they don't have Clay, and they no longer have, Kevin Durant. Durant's with Brooklyn. Clay's injured with the Warriors. But with Curry playing as well as he is, the Warriors are feeling it. And as we speak, they've overcome a rough start, and they're handling the Cavs at this moment. But honestly, when I looked at the schedule last week, and I was eyeballing the 10 seed in the Eastern Conference, I penciled in the Cavs for a loss to Golden State. I didn't expect them to beat Golden State. The real run for the Cavaliers begins after the Golden State game. They're at Chicago, the 10 seed in the East, then at terrible Detroit, then home to Chicago, at Charlotte, at Washington, a team that's hot but is still bad, at Toronto, home to Orlando, home to Washington. That's where the Cavaliers have to make their hay. Even if I concede that they lose to the Warriors, they've got an 8-game stretch coming up here, including 2 against the Bulls and 1 more against Toronto, where I realistically think they can go 6-2. And even if they go 5-3, they're still hanging around in an effort to try to get that 10 seed. And you say, well, why would you care about the 10 seed? Well, that question was asked of me last week too, because I want to see the Cavs win. Sorry. I mean, I know they're rebuilding, and I know NBA teams get a 10-year pass when they're rebuilding, but I want to see the Cavs, because the Eastern Conference isn't any good after about, let me see here. You know, you're talking about mediocrity really from 5 on down. You got Indy at 26-28 in the 9 hole, and the Bulls in the coveted 10 hole at 22-32. The Bulls had lost 4 in a row. Their 4th in a row came last night. So the Cavaliers, although they're 13th of 15 in the Eastern Conference, still have plenty to play for, and they should act like it. And even if they get beat tonight by the Warriors, they should keep their heads up and say, we are gunning for the 10 seed. And finally, on the Dennis Manoloff Show, I want to try to make a habit now of giving props to either a person or people or a business or businesses who have impressed me. Today, it's 2 parts. One, the people and the business that are Bob Evans in Independence, Ohio on Rockside Road. Incredible people right down the street from where I work at WTM 1100 News Radio. The people are incredible there. The food is always good. So I really, really appreciate Bob Evans in Independence on Rockside Road. And as far as an individual, today I happened to be outside when the garbage person came through, and I wound up talking to him while he was putting the garbage, into the truck. Come to find out, solo act, a one-man gang on a ginormous garbage truck. He said he had done 14 tons of trash to that point, and it was about midday. And I'm sitting there going, you're all by yourself? And he's like, yep. And I'm looking around the neighborhood. I'm seeing all the trash and all the stuff he has to do. And it was incredible to watch a one-man trash wrecking crew, a true garbologist. I have the utmost respect for this guy and any men or women who do, the garbage situation, because it's so difficult. It's, heavy lifting and all kinds of stuff you got to deal with. And I just couldn't have been more impressed by this person that I saw today at my house. So props to you, whoever you are. You know who you are. All right. Thank you very much for listening. We will talk to you soon.